Hello, Planet Sewers. Welcome back to the Me's Tropical Franchise Zoo. We are finished with Beaver Habitat, so we're gonna do little screenshots here, and then I have sort of a speed build. I sped up the footage, and then we're gonna walk around the zoo. So let's hop into the footage I have of the speed build. Some of it did get lost. I can't find the setting to stop it from doing it. So what happens is I start recording, something distracts me. Hello, Ruby. And I click on my other screen and it stops recording. And I forget that it does that. So I lose footage. My apologies. Anyway, so here we are. I am using the idea I came up with when I was doing the voiceover for the last episode of the franchise zoo. And we're going to create a little swimway for these beavers to get to the other side of this path and make a deeper water space for them. I was really struggling with getting it to register the depth of the water, and on the other side of the habitat I started building another space for them and made it bigger, and it just wasn't working out. I didn't have the space. I didn't want to redo all those waterfalls over there. I really like them, so I came over here and we're gonna make them an enormous swimming pit so that way they will be happy. Yay! So I started with a little bit of glass right there and then just went around with some null barrier. I took that part out. And we're getting the shape of what this is going to look like. So it's similar to what we did for the sun bears. And now I'm going to deepen this little area out so they can actually kind of go down under the water. So you may not be able to see them if they actually do dive all the way down there. So far I haven't really seen them go under the water, but it wanted 2 meters, and what was on the other side was like exactly 2 meters. So I think it just needed to be a little bit deeper. So I brought this around, and originally I was going to use this to hold the water in, but I decided instead I would just pull the terrain up right here and flatten it out. So I was using that for height, and that looked good to me. So I went ahead and took those out. So I'm going to connect all this with terrain and let the terrain hold it, and we'll bring the null barriers back in and a little bit back out so that, you know, when they're up there, the beavers won't register and escape. And then I use the cube just to fill this in, and we'll go back and we're gonna soften the, what do you call it, the terrain there. My brain just went blank. So I can see a little bit of sunlight right there, so I'm gonna need to fill that in on that side before the water's actually gonna work. So I'll have to fill that space in. So I pulled everything kind of dramatically out so I could get it to work and get it out of the way of what I was doing with the terrain. Even the null barriers will prevent you from being able to edit your terrain. So I had to get it out of the way and then put some of it back so that I could get this up here. And I wanted to bring it a little bit closer to this little restaurant that I built before the update came out. I wish I had known that was coming. That would have been so cool. I may go back because that's not really fully finished yet. It's like 99% finished, and change it up a little bit so that, you know, that top floor, I have to see what I put up there, see if I can just turn that into like dining tables and put the new restaurant in there. So here we go. I did lose the footage for making that other waterfall right there. Mostly I just copied the rocks I already had on that other side and then kind of turned a second waterfall and put them one over the other. And we're going to fill in right here with some rocks, and I'm using, what are they? I'm using the tropical rocks, and I'm using the temperate rocks to fill in these spaces. Those are the color scheme of rocks that I used for this area. I felt that they kind of had a nice nature look, what you would kind of see in North America, the browns and the grays, not so much the red. You do in the desert areas, but for a nice wooded area, I felt that these rocks had the nice color tone that I was looking for. So we're gonna kind of fill in this space so that that terrain is held in, and we're gonna do the same thing along the back side and get the rocks all nice and pretty. For this beaver habitat, I do apologize for losing some of the footage. I will try to get better, and maybe I'll do a little more searching to find out why the NVIDIA is doing that. It didn't used to, so the screen recorder and I are not friends at the moment. So we're gonna turn these rocks so they kind of fit the surface there and give that nice look that terrain's all supported and held in. I can't talk as usual. Anyway, so we're just going back and forth between these two color tones of rock so it's not all the same type of rock, and blend it into that terrain that we have as well. We are in a tropical zoo, so the soil tends to be a little bit darker. I think I'm going to go back too, and I'm going to change this barrier from an actual glass barrier and put in what I did on the other side, because when I did my walkthrough, I noticed that it was already cracking, and that drives me bonkers. If you use construction glass, your glass won't crack. But you do have to have, of course, your barrier glass here to hold in the water. There's no option for that. It has to have terrain, or it has to have watertight barriers for you to use the water with. So here for the path, I did do this a couple of times. The first try, it was too low and my beavers couldn't make it underneath. So my second try, I brought it up quite a bit higher, and the beavers were able to swim underneath this. That was the whole idea here, to get them to the other side of the habitat. And we're going to cover up the path with some rocks and make a rock bridge with different types of rocks through here. I did use kind of some chunkier ones to cover up the main, ramp right here, as it gives that incline up to the flat space. And then I'm going to use some smaller rocks to cover up the other side. And I didn't want to block the glass view so much into this little grassy area. They do hang out over there. There's one in a box, but that's where the entrance of the habitat is as well. So if anything happens to them and they box themselves, that's where they're going to end up. So I'm just turning these and using X to go back and forth between the arrows and the circle so that I can cover up this curb path here. And then we're going to duplicate that down, because when I started looking at it from different angles, I did want to cover that curb from all views. I thought it looked a little unfinished, so it will have the rocks along the top part of it. And then I went ahead and grabbed all of these once I got them in and duplicated them to the other side, because it's pretty much the same movement with the path. It's pretty straight, so one side's not really too much bigger than the other. I did make sure that they were in their own little group, so I could grab them with the multi-select function within the groups. And then I just did the same thing, moved that down to cover up the bottom section of the actual path itself, where it kind of sticks down. And then I'm going to add in these little smaller pointed rocks to make supports for the railing that's going to go in here, and get those in place. So we're just going to have those right where the path goes straight, and we're going to put those one in each corner. And then I ended up having to add a couple of more of those once I got the railing posts in, so that they could, not just dead end into the air. So we're going to grab a person here. There we go. That way I can make sure, this is high enough really to kind of look like it protects people from, falling in. It doesn't stop them from jumping in, but I guess that's a little bit of the unrealistic side of my zoo. But I don't always have the, protective things to keep people from hopping into the habitats. Hopefully they don't. Some of the zoos I've been looking at don't really have all that. Just depends on the zoo you're in. I know for St. Louis Zoo, I was looking at some things for their cheetah habitat, and I was just shocked. And it's like, what's over there that's either keeping the animal from getting too close, or what's over there, if somebody were to hop in, that's going to keep them away from the animals. But I guess it depends on each zoo and how they designed it. It's probably hidden. I just can't see it from the Google Earth viewpoint. But this zoo is pretty much all out of my mind. There's not too much that I use for reference pictures. I kind of just go. it does make those builds, I think, sometimes take a little longer because I have these ideas and they don't work, kind of like what happened with this habitat. They kept saying they did not have enough space with the water. And since we're in the franchise mode here, I do need to make sure that they have enough space or we're going to get protesters, and we don't want that. And I do have to make sure that I have all the other things that keep them happy. So I did go around off screen and put in for security. They're underground in a lot of places. The do not disturb signs and the do not feed signs. So I do have those hidden underneath the path to keep guests from taunting the animals as well as giving them human food. And here I used, it's a 12 by 12 glass pane, and I really I wanted a long glass pane right here. So I just tucked it in all mostly into the ground and brought it up just a little high, so to keep people from getting in and so that they can look in there. And then I'm going to cover all the white spaces with a little rock barrier, and we're going to do that all the way around on all the glass. So we're going to get that started here. So just going around and getting my posts covered, and then we're going to make a wall right here. And I did notice in my walkthrough I accidentally deleted part of my wall, so I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Whoopsies. If there's a wooing husky, my apologies. It seems like everybody was super quiet, and I was like, okay, perfect time to do this voiceover. And the whole house just exploded between the bird being noisy, the dogs being noisy. Somehow Colbert got left outside, and so that was her out there saying, please let me in, if you were able to hear that. I did cut some of it out. Anyway, we're gonna grab this little rock set that I made and duplicate it around and give it a couple of spins here and there to give it a little bit of variation. I'm gonna put some scenery plants through here, so I'm not too worried about it getting repetitive. And now we're gonna welcome in Klaus the Corgi. If you can hear his little jingles and his huffs, it seems that Kai, Klaus, and Chloe have all decided to come in here. So sorry about that. Anyway, so I'm going to make this little barrier in the back. And again, I'm going to put some scenery around it too in the back. So hopefully it's a little bit of repetitiveness won't be too apparent. So I'm just going to go around and create, a backdrop for here. And then we're going to put in some bigger rocks underneath to fill in that raised terrain that's going on right there. And so it's just a bunch of copying, giving it the spins. These are cladding rocks, or I think that's what they're called. Anyway, I'm just moving them, mostly using the 45-degree turns to flip them in different directions as I go around, and then, moving them here and there. Sometimes I'll turn the 45-degree off with the space bar to kind of, make sure I'm not too much in the terrain with them. I don't want them to create a hitbox with the beavers so that they can't walk up here. I do want my beavers to be able to navigate this little space that I've created for them, so they have a little more land as well. And we're gonna come over here and just connect that right into the corner of this little restaurant cafe that I built prior, I should say, to the update that just came out. So this one doesn't operate with all the cool tables and stuff. Like I said earlier in the video, I may come back and change this one, or maybe I'll do another one close by and use that so that they can maybe dine behind. Like we'll put a beaver diner and they can look at them. That would be cool. Have another viewpoint from behind the habitat. But I put trees. So anyway, I forgot to do this when I built this, so I'm putting in the mulch, and I still forgot to put plants in. I was like, oh, I'll come back later and do the plants because I'm on a different mindset. I never did. So we're going to finish the rocks over here, and we're going to grab this little group and kind of use it, turn it around. Like I said, I'm going to put plants through here, so I wasn't too worried if it looked too repetitive. So I'm just filling in right there so that it's not just, oh, we have rocks and dirt, or just dirt. it looks like it's something that would actually hold our beavers into this habitat. I did have to pull the barrier kind of out, so I just did it dramatically so that it wouldn't create any escape spots for our beavers. And this part was super simple once I had the little group of 4, and just repeat them around. So we're back at our bridge. Like I said, I was gonna fill this in so that from the viewpoints inside the habitat, you can't see the under part of that path. It all looks like it's, got nice rock supports. So I'm gonna add that in and then duplicate that over to the other side. I did have some struggles getting a hold of these pieces. Sometimes when you sink them into things, they don't want to be selected. So we just copied that to the other side once I got it in. And here's where I touched the other screen. And so that's why there's a huge jump in progress. So you missed out a little bit of me just putting rocks on the tops of these barriers. And now I'm just sinking them over so you can see how I laid them up there. And I'm just putting them down to the bottom. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one, as well as the one that's holding the water. We're just going to put in that rock top so that it has all nice nature feel as you walk through here. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And I really do like how this turned out here. At first I was like, I don't want to do all the rocks on the top and the bottom, but I'm glad I did. It gave it a real pretty feel for this habitat. And on this curve, I had to use, of course, a smaller piece. Luckily, my curve wasn't too curvy, so the smaller one was able to adequately make it around. So we're going to highlight these, and then we're going to drop them down, and we're going to get that smaller piece. I had realized right around here that I didn't have my align to surface on. Not sure when I turned it off or why, but I was like, that explains so much why I was struggling with these pieces. All right, so here we are. We're going to do the terrain painting, and we're going to do the soil right along the edge of the little beaver thing. I might come back into the habitat and add a couple of little rocks here and there at that edge, but it looks pretty good. I'm still pretty happy with how this habitat turned out. And then I remembered I have split the habitat. So when a habitat gets split, it does need to have something that the caretakers, the keepers, can use to get to the other side. They are not going to tread that water and walk to the other side. It's too deep. And so I was like, well, I'll build a little bridge here. And I went through a couple of different renditions of this bridge. Originally, I had it really close to this waterfall, and then I didn't like how it blocked the view of my pretty little waterfall. And so I decided to move it over to the other side, a little further away from the waterfall. But this was where I originally built it, was over these two little rocks that were in here. I think they were left over from the original habitat that I started, where this was the edge, and then I extended this out trying to get more water for the little guys, but it wasn't registering, so I ended up with the bigger habitat on the other side. And so we're gonna make a little, rock bridge, make sure there's a little support so our people that walk on it don't fall off. And I love it when I do that. Highlight everything, move it, and then I meant to copy and I just moved. But anyway, we get there. So you can see this was where I originally was like, I'm going to build this, but I ended up moving it. So this is the creation of the bridge. So I went ahead and left this part of it in, so you can see how I decided to, construct the bridge and how it was pieced together. And then we're going to end up with it being further down the habitat path. It's going to cross over further back as you're exiting the area, which actually is a good place for it because I can actually put beavers as you're walking in from the other side, now that I think about it. That's one thing I do enjoy about doing the voiceovers is I come up with ideas after the fact while I'm talking about what I was thinking when I built it originally. So now you can see where I have moved that bridge further back. And it actually has some pathing all the way around the backside of that waterfall. And so here I'm just putting in some sticks. I really don't know what dams look like, but I decided, we should have a little bit of beaver work going on in here. So I just kind of made some little crosshatch of sticks because they do build dams to block the water. So I just kind of put, a little start of something in the waterfall that maybe the beavers had left behind or got clogged in these rocks, just for a little fun. And then we're going to put a couple more plants in. I did use some spruces in the back side of the habitat. And here I'm using the white birch, since those are the pieces that they have that look chewed and gnawed. So I put some of those throughout the habitat. And then I'm going to line this back wall, since we're kind of transitioning from a more tropical look to a more woodsy North American look. I went with the tropical theme for the cougars because it did say they live in tropical areas, so I kind of went that direction for them. But we're going to shift into a kind of cooler space for the beavers as we go into the cooler North American animals. So this is the little rock pieces I'm going to use to put a beaver sign on. I'm creating it on the path just so it would be nice and flat with all the letters. Originally I started it up on the rocks, but it looked really wonky, so I came down here and we're going to flop that over and spin it around and get it up onto our rocks. And I needed to edit this just a little more so it looks like they're actually attached to the rocks somehow. So I was kind of seeing, well, how far are they sinking back? And there we go. I've got the spin that I like, so I'm going to adjust this rock back here so that they actually connect with that beaver sign. And then I've got just a light tube. I turned it green. It's the same as how the cougars were done. And we're just going to stick those kind of in the rock but behind the letters, so they kind of are a part of holding these letters up. And I'm tucking them kind of behind different parts of the letters here, so that at night it will have a nice back glow. All right, so now it's time for our little walkthrough of part of the zoo. We're not going through the whole zoo today. We're just going to go through different parts. So as you walk in, you have a lot of options. You can get on the gondola, or you can come in here to this walkthrough habitat, or you can skip the gondola and go towards the bears, or you can go into that little building there where there's some options for food and drink, as well as a couple of exhibit animals. And then over here we've got the Chinese pangolins. We just left the red ruff lemurs. And so we walk through here, and to the right is all of the support buildings for the zoo. And then this is our little food court right as you come into the zoo. And right here you have a couple options too. You can go to the Venturong Pass, or you can keep going straight and it'll take you to the sun bears, or all the way down where I was building, which is the North America section. So I didn't see any Venturongs again in here. I keep meaning to see if there's actually any in there. I think I put some in. They might be up on the roof. But when I get back into the zoo, I'll need to check and see if maybe they passed away. People are walking through here, so that leads me to believe there's some in here somewhere, instead of them just walking around. Because when they had all passed away, people weren't really coming down into the actual pathway. And so there's the gondola. If they want to get on it, they can, do that right from the entrance. And then we also have a little viewpoint from both sides in the circle area of the Venturong Pass. And then we have another little food court over here. Again, this is all built previous to the newest update, where you can do the restaurants. And so we have the sun bear eating area, and then we have a Himalayan bear. There's one right there. And there is a bear tunnel back there, but we're not going to go through the bear tunnel today. We're going to walk through the sun bear habitat, and all three of them look like they're right here. You can see one way up on the top. You got the baby up front, cute little baby. You got another one looking like it might go over the little pass. Yep, it was. I didn't catch that when I was in here. I just kind of like, on we go. So we can go this way. We're going to ignore the peafowl habitat. I have not worked that out yet. Mostly it was just to kind of attract people towards that other gondola station that we have here. So then we have our Cougar Habitat. They can either go in that entrance over there and go down underneath their swimming area and into kind of their den, or they can come around this way to the restaurant, and you have, you know, nice enclosed area full of pretty little plants, and you have a chance to see them right here. I see they just did the blood pumpkin. I don't see a cougar. Then you have another chance to see them here. Oh, I do see the cougars. And so, oh, they're really good jumpers. So there goes one. And it's running through here. So that little section doesn't have any water in it. Water part's in the middle. So if you actually walk down, you'll maybe get a chance to see them swimming above you. Or you can go up this, which is what I was saying. I may come back in here and edit this building. And then you have a little view of the beavers right there. So you might see the beavers from this view. I don't see them right now. I don't know where they are. And then you come around this way. There's some restaurants up here. Oh, and we do have a cougar up here, so you can see them. Or you can go all the way up and see them from up there. Whoops, my terrible navigating. And I can see some things that I need to fix in there. But anyway, that's not 100% finished. I thought it was, but apparently it's not. All right, I don't see the beavers. They're hiding. Don't know where they are. So we're gonna go this way. Nope, that's a shadow. Thought I saw a beaver. See, it's broken. Yeah, I may replace that with one that doesn't break, doesn't need maintenance. And so we have the support building back there is for the cougars and the beavers. That's got the keeper hut and a staff hut back there. And here we are with our waterfalls and a nice little bridge, and you have plenty of different opportunities to see the beavers, but I don't know where they are. You do your walkthrough and the beavers are hiding. I found them all over the place before I did this walkthrough. Got some amazing screenshots. Some of them you saw at the beginning, some of you'll see at the end, some of the screenshots I'm taking as I walk through here. Oh, there's the shadow of a beaver. That's super cute. It's up at the top, but you can see the shadow of beaver in the water. It looks like he's deep diving, but it's not. It's just up at the surface. So we're gonna yeet up there. There's one. And where's the other ones? Oh, they're in the back. Maybe they were up here last time and I just couldn't see them because they really do blend in. But there they are. So we're gonna yeet back down instead of navigating through that restaurant multiple times. And now you can see there goes one. He's coming down from the top section and a big cloud just blew over, so it makes it harder to see them. He should pop out from behind that tree line soon. Oh, there's a second one I can see to the right, and he's kind of glitchy as he comes down that slope. Poor little guy. I'm sorry. I gave you a very hard thing to navigate. My bad. But there he is. So there's beavers headed towards the water. There's another one coming down the hill as well. Trying to get a view of both of them, but it's not working too well. But anyway, we have this section they can swim in as well. And then you have a little pass. There's the bridge. And over here, I'm going to start into the cooler animals of the North American pack. We're going to do some Arctic foxes over here. And we'll do the moose as well, since we already kind of have a very cold habitat with the bears. So I thought that was a good way to kind of tie in the two really cold, the Arctic fox, and then we have the moose, and we'll add in our other North American animals. And then here is just a little bit of the sunset coming over our beavers. One's playing with the ball, one's swimming, one just went under his little hut area back there, and there's one off to the left on the right, on the rock. They are some speedy little guys. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you enjoy my content. I also live stream over on Twitch, so you can give me a follow over there. Link will be in the comments. And may the RNG odds be ever in your favor.